Here we are outside Birmingham prison, which has a uniquely notorious reputation for the violence that it inflicts on prisoners. Winson Green, as it was then called, was opened in 1853. And alongside this, when it was first built, was an asylum and a workhouse. And this was used to imprison and contain the most marginalised of the working class here. During the 1960s and 70s and 80s, the Prison Officers Association took control of this place completely. They had absolute power here. And the violence against prisoners became systemic and institutionalised. And there used to be a gang of officers or guards here. And what this gang would do, they would go out over the dinner hour to a local officers' mess or club and get drunk. And come back in drunk. Governors knew this was going on, the Board of Visitors knew it was going on. And in 1981, there was a notorious, infamous incident here when a prisoner called Barry Prosser, who was a mentally ill minor offender, was beaten to death here in the hospital wing. The complicit prison doctor said that he had probably committed suicide. The police were then called in to investigate Barry Prosser's death. And they said they met a total wall of silence when they entered this prison. However, 3 officers were arrested for the murder of Prosser. But because of the lack of direct evidence, because none of the other staff would give evidence against them, the 3 members of staff were acquitted, which sent a signal to their colleagues that basically they could do what they wanted here. I was sentenced in 1980 to a life sentence, and I suffered quite brutal treatment at the hands of prison staff. But probably my worst experience in those 40 years of imprisonment was being in this particular place for just a month. But in that month I was repeatedly beaten up, severely injured, and deeply and seriously believed that I was going to be murdered. The gang of staff made it clear to me that they were going to kill me. And no doubt they would have done. I would have had the same fate as poor Barry Prosser, had it not been for the intervention of a young, recently recruited prison doctor called Gillian Jones, who was absolutely outraged by my treatment and complained to the prison governor and effectively got me moved out of the prison and effectively saved my life. As a result, her car was firebombed in the staff car park, and she was verbally abused and intimidated and eventually had to leave the service. Because basically the prison officers owned this prison and ran this prison. And every member of staff, including doctors and probation officers and even priests, had to fall into line and allow the staff to run this prison exactly as they wanted. The prison in 2011 was privatised and sold to G4S. And conditions within the prison went really bad. The filth, the squalor was awful here. And then inevitably a riot broke out here in 2016, and prisoners effectively took control of the prison for about 2 or 3 days. I just hope that the prisoners within this jail have organised among themselves and discovered solidarity, because that is the only way that the balance of power in these places can be shifted to such an extent that the murderous behaviour of prison officers is stopped, because the system itself does not hold them accountable. Only prisoners themselves can. And I just hope there's a degree of solidarity in here now, and it's no longer the hate factory and place of murder and brutality that it was during the 1970s and 1980s.